He lived alone on a quiet farm at the edge of Earth's new frontier colony. The last thing he wanted was visitors, especially not from space. But when the Federation courier knocked on his door with a blinking datapad and a metal crate behind him, Jack frowned. Name? The courier asked. Jack Dalton. The courier's face lit up as if he had just confirmed a jackpot. Perfect. One female mate as per treaty for 9A. Signed, sealed, and ... mated. The courier tapped the pad, then turned and kicked the crate. She's all yours. Good luck. Before Jack could even say a word, the crate hissed. Steam poured out. Locks clicked. Then the front panel dropped open and she stepped out. Jack's breath caught. She was tall and slender. Her skin a soft lavender shimmer under the sun. Her silver-white hair flowed down to her lower back, and her violet eyes scanned him like a weapon. But what struck Jack most were the cuffs on her wrists. Glowing chains. Light restraints. She walked forward, slow and silent, and then knelt on the grass in front of him. I am Vera of House Kaitali, she said in a calm, almost robotic voice. I am your assigned breeder. You may begin whenever ready. Choked on air. Wait, what? She looked up, confused. You are not satisfied with my appearance? No? I mean this is wrong. I didn't order a wife. Her head tilted slightly. You were matched. Your government accepted. My matriarch paid the fees. It is done. Jack stared at the blinking crate behind her. Printed across the side were the words, Genetic Exchange Program for Interspecies Balance. This was real. This was happening. And apparently, Earth had agreed to it. Jack rubbed his forehead. Okay, look. I don't know who signed the paperwork, but I don't believe in buying people. I am not sold, Vera replied. I am gifted for seed. When pregnancy is confirmed, you may release me. He flinched. This isn't how we do things. Humans don't work like this. She lowered her eyes. Then, you reject me. The words stung in a way Jack didn't expect. She didn't sound offended. She sounded hurt. No, Jack said quickly. I'm just saying you're not an object. You're not a tool. She looked back up at him. Your kindness is confusing. Am I not good enough to breed with? That's not how love works, Jack said gently. She blinked. Love. Jack sighed. Come on, let's get you inside. You don't need to stay out here with chains on your hands. I am trained to wear them. It keeps me ready. Stepped forward and, without asking, tapped the lock release on her cuffs. They clicked and dissolved in a shimmer of light. She looked at her bare wrists with surprise. No one has ever removed them without mating first, she whispered. Well, now someone has, Jack said. Welcome to Earth. Inside the house, everything was quiet. Jack made tea, awkwardly setting a cup in front of her. She sniffed it like it was poisoned. Double quotes, do your people always delay procreation like this? She asked after a moment. Jack chuckled. We usually like to get to know each other first. Talk, share a meal, go on a few dates. Vera nodded slowly. Strange, but interesting. He watched as she took a sip of the tea, her eyes widening slightly at the warmth. She held the cup. Close after that, both hands wrapped around it like it was the only thing keeping her alive. You said you're from House Kaitali. Jack asked. Yes, one of the oldest breeding houses in my sector. My mother birthed 17 children. My duty is 12. Jack raised an eyebrow. That sounds like a job, not a family. It is both, she said plainly. And then, after a pause, she asked softly, if I am not here to breed, then why would you keep me? Jack thought for a long moment before answering. Because maybe. I want to show you there's more to being close than just survival. Maybe I want you to feel something more than duty. Vera looked at him, puzzled. You mean pleasure? Jack gave a small smile. That's part of it, but not just body. I mean heart. For the first time, Vera's face showed something other than calm, control confusion. Maybe even a flicker of fear. And maybe hope. Vera watched from across the room as Jack fixed the broken water unit. His hands were dirty, his shirt stained with grease, but his movements were patient, focused. Calm. In her world, males were impatient, cold, and aggressive, trained to extract what they needed and then leave. Jack didn't fit anything she'd been told about humans or about mating. The soft hum of the kettle interrupted her thoughts. Steam curled into the air, and she tilted her head, eyes narrowing. Jack glanced over. You can relax, you know? You don't have to just sit there like a statue. I was trained to wait silently, Vera replied. To make no demands. Jack stood, wiped his hands, and grabbed 2 clean cups. Well, forget all that. You're not on your planet anymore. Here, we ask questions. We talk, we share. Vera hesitated. But what do I talk about, if not my function? Jack poured tea for both of them. How about what you like? What makes you happy? Her answer came without thinking. Serving. Bearing life. He smiled, but not with joy, more like sadness. That's what you were told to like. I'm asking what you like. Vera stared into her tea. I don't know. The silence grew thick, but not uncomfortable. She sipped the tea again, the warmth slowly reaching her fingers. Then she asked, what is pleasure to humans? Jack leaned back, surprised. You mean, you've never? I've felt the body's function. But I do not know what your people call pleasure. Some say it's chaotic, messy. Others say it makes you cry and smile at once. Jack blinked. Well, yeah, that's kind of true. Then teach me, Vera said simply. Jack nearly choked. Teach you. She tilted her head. Not the physical act. I mean the reason behind it. Why does your kind connect? For joy, not just for function. He breathed out. That's a big thing to explain. I am a fast learner. Later. That night, Jack showed her something simple, a movie. They sat on opposite ends of the couch. She stiffened at first, unused to soft cushions. But when music began and the human characters on the screen laughed, kissed, and danced, she leaned forward slightly. Halfway through, a tear rolled down her cheek. Jack noticed. You okay? I don't know, she whispered. That feeling. The way he held her, that's not duty. That's love, Jack said. Vera turned her head. Is that what you want? From me? He shook his head. No, I don't want anything from you, but I hope. Maybe one day you'll want something because you feel it, not because someone told you to. For a moment, Vera said nothing. Then she stood and walked over to him. She didn't touch him. She simply sat beside him, close but not too close. I will stay awake tonight, she said. To learn more. About what? She looked straight ahead. About the difference between function and feeling. That night, Jack made up. A bed for her in the spare room, clean sheets, warm blanket, soft light. She stepped inside and paused. Will you lock the door? She asked. He frowned. No. Why would I? Case I try to. ... Complete the bond without permission. Jack shook his head. You don't have to worry. I trust you. Eyes softened slightly. Then, I'll try to trust myself. She closed the door, and for the first time in her life, she slept without fear of being touched. The house was dark, quiet, except for the soft ticking of the old wall clock. Jack lay awake in his room, staring at the ceiling. Something about Vera's eyes had stayed with him. Curious, confused, but not cold. He was used to solitude. Used to silence. But now, with a living, breathing alien just a room away, silence felt heavier. Then, a faint knock. Not on the door. On his door. Jack. A voice whispered. He sat up. Vera. She opened the door slowly, eyes lowered. She wore one of his old shirts, far too big on her, but modest. Her pale hair shimmered in the moonlight through the window. I had a question, she said softly. Come in. She stepped inside. Hands clasped together, nervous. Not the cold, trained alien from the crate, but someone. Unsure, back home, she began. If a male does not respond on the first night, the female must initiate. If he still refuses, she is discarded. Jack frowned. That sounds cruel. Then why haven't you touched me? She asked. The air between them froze, I thought. Maybe you weren't interested, or maybe I was broken. Jack stood slowly, walked over, and looked her straight in the eyes. You are not broken. And I didn't touch you because I respect you, not because I don't want you. Vera blinked, stunned. Respect. In our world, Jack said, touch means trust. It means safety. I don't want to take anything from you. I want you to give it when you feel ready. If ever, Vera's breath caught. But I don't know how to feel ready. I was never taught that part. He gave a soft smile. Then maybe we start with something small. He stepped back and pointed to the bed. Want to sleep here tonight? Just sleep. No touching, just warmth. She hesitated, then nodded. Jack lay on one side of the bed, back turned out of respect. Vera lay on the other, staring at the ceiling. Minutes passed. Then quietly she whispered, It's cold. Jack reached over and pulled the blanket higher. Then soft movement. Vera inched closer. He tensed for a second, but didn't move. She rested her head near his shoulder, not touching, just close. Like a whisper of closeness. I can hear your heart, she murmured. That's normal, Jack said. No, not like this. It's calm, gentle. Yours feels different from others. Jack chuckled softly. You've been close to other hearts. No, just read about them in breeding texts. Yours makes me feel safe. Silence. Then, softly, do you think I'll ever know what love feels like? Jack looked at the ceiling. I think you're already starting to. Vera didn't speak again. She slowly closed her eyes, and within minutes, her breathing softened. Jack stayed awake longer, listening to the quiet rhythm beside him. She hadn't come for mating. She hadn't begged for duty. She had simply come. For closeness and for Jack. That meant more than any touch ever could. Morning sunlight spilled across the bed. Warm and golden. Vera woke up slowly, blinking at the unfamiliar ceiling. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she turned. Her head on saw Jack, still sleeping beside her, back facing her. Breathing softly. He hadn't touched her once, and yet, she had never felt so safe. She sat up quietly, wrapping the blanket around her shoulders. A strange feeling swirled inside her, warm, unfamiliar, and somehow soft. Not weakness, not duty, something gentler. She wandered into the kitchen, exploring. She found a small container labeled sugar and dipped her finger in curiously. When she tasted it, her eyes lit up. It was sweet. Vera had read about sweetness. But on her planet, food was strictly functional, cold, bland, nutrient-focused. There was no joy in it, but here, everything had flavor, meaning, even feeling. Jack walked in moments later, rubbing his eyes. His shirt was wrinkled and his hair messy, but he smiled the moment he saw her. You're up early. Discovered sugar, she said, serious as a soldier. Jack laughed. That's dangerous. You might get addicted. She tilted her head. I think I already have. Later that day, they worked in the garden. Jack showed her how to press her hands into the soil, how to water each row, how to plant gently without harming the roots. She watched every movement carefully. But what surprised Jack was that she smiled. A real glowing smile when a butterfly landed on her shoulder. You okay? He asked. I think, she whispered. I like this. Gardening. No, living. Jack paused, unsure what to say. Then her hand reached out. Not fast, not desperate, just open. He looked down at her fingers, stretched toward him like a quiet question. He took her hand slowly. Her skin was cool. Her grip soft. She looked down at their hands with wide eyes. You're not using this to control me? She whispered. No, I'm holding it because I want to. Her breath caught again. No one has ever held me for that reason. That evening, Jack cooked a small dinner simple soup, warm bread, and glowing fruit from the alien trade markets. Vera ate slowly, savoring every bite like it was her first. Real meal. She watched him across the table. Every smile. Every word. Every time he asked if she wanted more or if the food was too hot, it wasn't just what he gave it, was how he gave it. Not as a master, not as a user, but as a man who saw her. When the table was cleared, she stood by the fireplace, staring into the soft flames. Jack joined her. The silence wasn't awkward anymore. I have something to confess, Vera said, eyes still on the fire. Go on. I was warned that humans are dangerous, manipulative, addictive. Jack raised an eyebrow. Addictive. They said your species uses emotion like poison, that once you feel it, you're never the same. Jack gave a small smile. I guess that's true. Motions do change you. She turned toward him. Then maybe I want to be changed. He stepped closer. She didn't flinch. And when he brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, wasn't a claim. It was a promise. That night, as they stood side by the fire, no one said a word, but their hands stayed together. Not as owner and property, not as breeder and donor, but as two beings, learning how to be more together. Rain tapped gently against the windows. It had started in the afternoon, soft and steady, turning the farmland outside into a misty dream. Jack sat on the couch, tuning an old stringed instrument he rarely touched. Vera sat on the floor nearby, cross-legged, watching with curiosity. You've been quiet, Jack said, without looking up. I'm observing, she replied. Observing what? You? He gave a half smile. Should I be worried? No. I'm learning something I was never trained for. Jack paused. Which is? Makes your heart move. That made him look up. That's a strange way to put it. Vera shrugged. Is it? My people only observe bodies. You observe feelings. I want to know how you do that. Why your eyes change when you look at me. Why your smile softens when I'm near. See? But I do not understand it. Jack plucked a soft note from the strings. It hummed gently in the air. That's the thing about feelings, he said. They don't always make sense. You don't have to understand them right away. You just let them in. Vera nodded. Slowly, eyes still on him. Then play something for me. Let me hear what it sounds like when your heart moves. Jack strummed a quiet melody. It was slow, unpolished, but full of warmth. Each note drifted softly like the rain outside. Vera closed her eyes, letting the vibrations pass through her. She had never felt music like this. Not from machines, not from training halls, only now. Only here. And when the song ended, she opened her eyes and he was looking at her, gently. Patiently she stood, walked toward him, and without asking, without a word, she leaned Down her lips touched his. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't trained, but it was real. Jack froze at first, but only for a second. He kissed her back, slow and careful, like the moment might break if handled too hard when she finally pulled away. Her cheeks were flushed, her hands trembling just slightly. She blinked. That was not what I expected. Good or bad? Jack asked, smiling. She pressed her fingers to her lips. It didn't feel like mating. It felt like belonging. He took her hand. That's because it wasn't about taking. It was about sharing. That night, they sat side by side, shoulders touching. She didn't speak much. She didn't need to. For the first time in her life, Vera didn't feel like an object. She felt like a woman, and one simple kiss had done what years of genetic training never could made her feel alive. Asterisk the sky above. The farm was no longer peaceful. A low hum echoed through the clouds, a sound Vera recognized instantly. Not weather, not wind. A ship. She dropped the gardening tool from her hand. Her body moved on instinct, scanning the sky. And then she saw it sleek, dark, triangular, descending fast. Her heart sank. They had come for her. Jack stepped out of the barn, wiping sweat from his brow. What's that sound? Then he saw her face, pale, frozen. Vera, he asked, approaching her slowly. What's wrong? They found me, she whispered. The house, the matriarch. They're here to retrieve me. Retrieve you? Why now? I disobeyed. I didn't complete my duty. They probably tracked the lack of pregnancy. They believe I've failed, or worse, been compromised. Jack's jaw tightened. What? Happens if they take you back. They'll reassign me, she said coldly. To a different male. No more choices. No more freedom. He took a step closer. Then we won't let them take you. She looked at him, eyes wide. You'd fight them? For me. I'd stand between you and the whole damn galaxy if I had to. The ship landed. Hard in the nearby field, steam and dust blowing everywhere. 3 armored figures stepped out tall, gray-skinned, with glowing visors and long staffs. One of them approached quickly, voice sharp and commanding. Subject Vera of House Kaitali, return immediately. You are in breach of reproductive protocol. Jack stepped forward. She's not going anywhere. The soldier paused. You are the Earth male assigned to her? No, Jack said. I'm the man she chose. Another soldier raised their staff. You have no authority in Kaali law. Vera stepped between them. I do, she said firmly. The soldiers froze. I revoke my assignment, she declared. I choose this male, by heart, not by law, the leader hissed. You would abandon your lineage, your role. I would abandon chains disguised as purpose. I felt more life in 1 month here than in my whole training cycle. The soldiers looked at each other. One moved forward again, but Jack grabbed a shotgun from the porch and leveled it without blinking. Touch her, he growled, and I'll show you what Earth calls freedom. After a tense silence, the leader finally spoke. You'll regret this. You've broken ancient order. No, Vera said softly. I've broken obedience, and it feels wonderful. With no choice, the soldiers returned to their ship, leaving a cloud of smoke and warnings behind. Later, back inside, Vera stood in Jack's arms. She was shaking not from fear, but from the adrenaline of choosing herself. I've never said no before, she whispered. You just did, Jack said, holding her closer. And you did it like a queen. Outside, the stars blinked coldly, but inside, for the first time in her life, she felt warm, not because she had followed a program, but because she had followed her heart. A month had passed since the standoff. The farm was quiet again. The skies peaceful. And the field Vera once stood enchained and confused now bloomed with soft blue flowers she planted herself. Jack watched her from the porch, sipping coffee. She moved differently now, no longer stiff, no longer waiting for instructions. She smiled more. She hummed while she worked. Sometimes she laughed, light, awkward, unsure, but real, and when she caught Jack watching her, she walked over. Head high, eyes soft. Why do you always stare? She asked with a smirk. Because you're not the same woman who came out of that crate, he replied. Vera nodded. I'm not. That woman was built by someone else. This one, I'm building myself. That evening, they sat by the fireplace. Again, same spot, same warmth, but this time, Vera brought a small, glowing orb, her homeworld's version of a data stone. She placed it between them and tapped it. Images floated in the air, memories, instructions, charts, breeding logs, DNA profiles. This was my life, she said. Everything planned, every pairing calculated, every child assigned before conception. Jack looked at the flickering data, then at her. Do you want to keep it? She stared at the orb for a long time. Then she crushed it in her palm. The lights blinked out. Dust fell to the floor. I'd rather write something new, she said. Weeks later, a message came. Not from her matriarchs, but from other Zelian women who had heard what Vera had done, who had questioned their own paths, who whispered her name with wonder. She chose love. She chose herself. Some called her a punchette. Others called her a pioneer. Vera didn't care what they called her. She only cared about what she felt. That night, under the open stars, she and Jack stood in the field. He took her hand. You sure about this? He asked. Vera leaned closer. I spent my whole life serving biology. Now, I want to build a life with me, with us. And when she kissed him again, wasn't shy. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't for duty. It was devotion. Months later, the flowers in the field were taller, stronger. So was Vera, and one morning, as she stood in the garden with her hands on her belly, she smiled. Not because a child was coming, but because this time was hers. A future not assigned, but chosen.